It's now important to ask, who is the biggest loser? Who in the yes camp has done the most to kill Labor's voice to Parliament, its advisory Parliament, just for the Aboriginal race, written into our Constitution? Now, I'm hearing already so many excuses from these people for the voice heading to near certain defeat on October 14. You know, Australians are racist, the No campaigners are liars, there's neo-Nazis everywhere. And none of that actually, doesn't make sense. I mean, how could Australians be racist today for saying no to the voice when less than a year ago, 2/3 said yes to the idea of it? That's before they looked closer. So how about instead of throwing blame, the people in the Yes campaign actually took some? And I want to now go through the top 5 losers, not to jeer at them, although that may be a pleasure for some, but to be very clear, because this is very important, to be very clear what has killed this voice. And we need to be clear before the Yes campaign on October 15 starts to smear the country as a land of racists and bigots. Now, first candidate for biggest loser is Indigenous Australians Minister Linda Burney. She's the minister in charge of selling us this voice. She's even overseen its creation. Now, the truth is, I have never seen a more incompetent performance by any federal minister in my life. I mean, this is someone who declared from the start that the voice was actually part of a radical 3-part attack on how we are governed to divide us by race.
Labor embraces the 3 elements of the Uluru Statement, that being an enshrined voice to the Parliament, a national process of truth-telling and a Makarrata Commission that would lead to agreement and treaty making.
Now, right from the start, voters were saying, well, hey, hang on, what is this big plan exactly? But since then, Burney's refused to answer any questions in Parliament about how any of this would actually work. Not even the most basic question got an answer. I'll give you just one example. I've played many over the time. It's a little long, it's intensely annoying, but I think it will show you exactly how pathetic Linda Burney's performance has been. So often simply reading out again and again scripts written for her in the morning without actually answering the question that was asked of her in the afternoon.
There are at least 250 Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander language groups across our country. With 24 members, how will the voice reconcile different or competing priorities between the many Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander cultures, customs, languages and laws?
I want to read to the House the proposed question and the proposed amendments, because they will answer your question. A proposed law to alter the Constitution to recognise the first people of Australia by establishing an Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander voice. Do you approve this proposed alteration? The proposed amendments, and I read these.
Order.
In recognition of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples as the first peoples of Australia. 1. There shall be a body to be called the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander voice.
Absolutely astonishing. Such contempt for Parliament, such contempt for the right of voters to know what's going on. And no wonder a lot of people are saying, well, if we're not getting answers, and you just saw it, what have they got to hide? Candidate 2 for the biggest loser, Thomas Mayo. Now, Mayo is an official from the radical CFMEU Building Union. He's one of the people Burney picked, for reasons I do not understand, for a committee to advise the government on what the voice should look like. He's also ambassador for the Uluru Statement. Here's what he thought that voice could actually do.
The wonderful thing about the Uluru Statement, the proposal for a voice, is that this is the first step. It's a vital step, and it puts all the explanation behind it. Pay the rent, for example. How do we do that in a way that is transparent and that it actually sees reparation?
So reparations now. That's money paid today by people who didn't do anything wrong themselves to other Australians who didn't have wrong done to them, and all because of what some other people did 250 years ago to other people long dead. I mean, it doesn't make sense. And that's got to have cost the Yes campaign votes as well. Third candidate for the biggest loser, Professor Marcia Langton. Marcia Langton, she's the co-author of a report that designed this voice of 24 activists who were selected, not elected. Just how they're selected, no one knows. And that's already one problem with Langton, a former Marxist, by the way, which is relevant. That's one problem, the total lack of detail. But the other here is that she's made the voice seem driven by hatred, not love at all. She's made it seem like a weapon in a race war, pushed by resentful people against whites particularly, because her abuse is amazing.
And there's the hard no voters, and I'm hoping that they're about 20%, and they're the ones who are spewing the racism. Both Conservative leaders, the Liberal Party opposition leader Peter Dutton and the National Party leader David Littleproud, have committed their parties to advocating a hard no case for the question. Moreover, their arguments are specious and increasingly absurd, appealing to their racist base with claims that the proposal will racially divide the nation.
That's a masterclass in how to alienate even more Australians. You call your opponents just racist or stupid. You call by extension, by implication, at least half the country racist or stupid. That'll make them vote for you. Not. Fourth candidate for the biggest loser, Noel Pearson, the Cape York activist who co-wrote the Uluru Statement that demanded the voice and sat on the government committee which approved the voice. Now, Pearson has been absolutely vicious in this debate, smearing people who don't agree with him. Here, for instance, is what he said about Senator Jacinta Nampijinpa-Price, who's one of the No campaign leaders, describing her as a puppet of white racists.
And their strategy was to find a black fella to punch down on other black fellas.
Yes, abusing a woman, eh? Abusing a black woman at that. I don't really think that's a winning strategy, Noel. But even worse was Pearson's open race baiting, his disgusting appeal to anti-white racism.
I say to multicultural communities in the campaign that I'm involved in around the country, I say to them, listen, where do you fit into Australia? It's a bit unclear. Are you with the mob from the UK? Are you kind of honorary settlers? Because some of you are the wrong colour, or you don't come from Northern Europe, you come from Africa, you come from Asia, you come from South America, you come from all over the joint, you come from China. I say to them, where do you fit in Australia?
And remember, I'm not quoting here some crazies from the fringe of the debate. These are actually the Yes campaign's main leaders. And you heard one of them saying, you know, if you've got a coloured skin, well, of course you have to vote yes. I mean, what is that? You can't be on the side of people with white skin. That I should live in a country now, I would never have guessed, where you get these blatant appeals to racism from mainstream political figures. And where's the outrage? Where? But I think silently a lot of Australians are taking note, and they'll take that thought with them to the ballot box. But listen. The fifth and final candidate for the biggest loser of the Yes campaign, well, it's obvious really, because he's also the winner of the five. The Prime Minister, Anthony Albanese. He's the man who decided to make the Voice and the Truth commission that he was going to get, called Makarrata, and the whole treaty business as well. All three elements, his personal crusade. And he kicked off this Voice campaign, step number one, that's divided the nation. Yet there he was today blaming everyone else for it going south.
What we've had is a whole lot of disinformation out there.
Oh, disinformation. That's all it was. Those wicked people on the No campaign. Disinformation, muddling, confusing the poor little heads of Australian voters who must all be stupid or something. I don't know. Listen, Prime Minister, how about looking at what those Yes campaign leaders, including yourself, you've all done? You've refused to give the details of this voice. You've refused to explain how this would work. You've talked of radical and wider agendas, including reparations and the rest. And then you refuse to discuss what you actually meant. And then there's the abuse. And then there's the racism. Now, it is true that Anthony Albanese himself has not been personally abusive. Give him that. But for the rest, he too won't say how this voice would work. He can't show exactly how it would make any positive difference. He can't or won't now talk about that radical agenda he was pushing just last year like a treaty.
Ullaroos, 3 generous requests: voice, truth, treaty. Labor is committed to all 3.
But what really makes Anthony Albanese the biggest loser is this. It was Albanese who decided to hold this referendum that has so divided the nation. It was Albanese who decided to make us vote on a voice without giving us any details. It was Albanese who decided on this voice without having a clue how it would in practice make anything better. And it was Albanese who decided that this is what we should vote on: a proposal to change our constitution to divide us by race for the rest of our lives. Did you really think Australians would wear that? Now, if you still doubt that these 5 Yes campaigners are the people who lost this referendum, I'll play you one more thing. Today is the first day of early voting on The Voice. These people you're now going to hear are just some of the Australians who today spoke to our reporters. You check what they say, because the problems they have with The Voice are every one of them problems caused by the Yes campaign and not the No.
What is your agenda? What are you trying to achieve? What's the end result?
I'm more concerned that it's going to separate our community rather than bring us all together. And that's huge issues for me.
Everything goes yes, no, but we're not really being told what is actually changing. If they do, if you vote yes, what does it mean? If you vote no, what does it mean?
At the moment, I'm pending with my decision. It's a case of getting information from both sides and see what the best result.
Again and again you're hearing it, aren't you? Where are the details? Why this division? When voters are rightly still asking those critical, fundamental questions after a year or more of campaigning by Anthony Albanese and his supporters, then the fault for The Voice's defeat does truly lie with them and no one else.